I'd have a beer in my hand.
Right. Well, hello, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Big Rig Banter here on the Open Road channel. Hope everyone's been doing well, and hope all the audio quality has been all right over on Spotify and whatnot, because, you know, we're on both platforms. And don't forget, if you want to support the channel and the podcast, you can do so over at Spotify. We're not quite there for AdSense over on YouTube, so make sure you share this podcast and share with comment, like, all that good stuff, subscribe. Let's build up them numbers so we can get monetized, maybe get 30 cents a month or something like that. Who knows? But let's go ahead and roll the intro, and we'll introduce you to our guest today. So what we have, Joe Coleman. Is that right, Coleman?
Yep.
So this is Joe. Say hi to Joe. Hey, everybody.
Hey, everybody.
And make sure I got all my buttons set correctly here. Hey, cool. Right on. So, yeah, this should be fun and interesting, because when we've been posting on Facebook, one of our commenters, who happens to be with us today, was like, "Oh, if you ever want to talk to a real driver, you just let me know." And before we even started recording, he had the audacity to tell us, "Oh, well, I've only been driving for 4 years, but he's a real truck driver." Is that right? Real truck driver. And so I figured a good place to start the conversation would be a message you sent me about, it seems like a lot of the content that we've so far covered has been mostly the negative aspects.
Right.
And I was like, well, yeah, you kind of have a point. But so what in your mind do you consider to be like the positive aspects of trucking? I mean, I'm not saying that there aren't none, but I don't think obviously the positive would be like the supply chain. We make sure that you have food on your table and everything else, but anyone who doesn't think that is a fool anyway. So
right.
Besides the blatant obvious, what kind of positive things do truckers or the trucking industry bring to the world?
To the world.
We'll start small. Let's go with the U.S.
Right.
For us.
Well, I mean, like you said, the obvious, but I think that my comment about the negativity was more in line with the way that I try to approach life. Is that I understand that if you talk to 1,000 truck drivers, they're all going to have a different way of doing things, and they're all going to have a different perception of the normal public, right?
Right.
I guess what I meant by that is I try to put myself in everyone that's on the road place of mind.
Right.
In other words, I'm trying to, if somebody cuts me off, I don't get really upset about it, because they may be having a bad day, a bad week, a bad year.
It's a case by case basis.
Yeah. And
Definitely.
I've got some buddies that I can't even hardly talk to them on the phone because they're always on their horn.
Right.
Getting mad at other people, but I just always try to approach it like everybody's out there just trying to make a living, do whatever they're trying to do.
Well,
yeah, I mean
that's an interesting way of putting it, considering when we're out here in bumper to bumper traffic and we're like, don't you people have jobs? Don't you have to be somewhere? Why are you in my way?
I'm not trying to say that
but
I have those thoughts in my head too, but then I try to get rid of them pretty quick.
Well, I think it's the negativity as far as some of the content. I can see what you're talking about, but when most of the stories that we trade with other truckers, whether we're sitting there powwowing at a truck stop waiting for whatever, or killing time, or at a shipper or receiver, and then you see your other company drivers, and you all start just bullshit and everything else. Most of the stories haven't been like, oh my God, yesterday was so awesome. I showed up here and I hit the dock and I was empty in 5 minutes, and the guy came out and bought me lunch, and then The hooker down the street had a 2-for-1 deal. You know. So it's the stories that a lot of us tend to trade are usually like, man, you ain't gonna believe the day I have. And so it's always been like a one-up competition. It's like, oh, who had the worst experience this week, today, or whatever else. And so it gives us a chance to, regardless of how bad the day was or the week was, gives us a chance to reflect and vent and laugh about it. And so, and so there's been a lot of times where, one of the worst, craziest experiences I had on the road, I talked about my first solo time here because Albert wasn't available that day, and he told me, like, when I was almost all the way here, I'm like, oh, I'm not going to be there. I knew this 5 minutes ago. I'm like, what? But anyways,
stress.
I talked about the fact that I got pulled into Lincoln, Nebraska scales. Mm-hmm. Oh, that was fun. And so, because they had FBI was there, DEA was there, and I knew my logs were jacked. And so,
so this was before electronic.
Oh God, yeah. This is a while. This is probably like 06.
So one of your logs was jacked.
No, the whole book was jacked, but that's not.
You didn't have 3 logs like everybody had?
They weren't. Well, see, I was green. I was very green.
Oh, okay.
And so I knew just enough to be dangerous, but that's not why they popped me. I didn't get written up, no citations, nothing, because DEA enforcement was doing their deal there, and they saw we see you were in California. I'm like, yeah. I was also in Wyoming a little bit ago. You want to talk about that too? I mean, what's going on?
Right.
Well, have you ever been at one of these shippers or receivers and they try to get you to haul something you really shouldn't haul, like anything illegal?
Right.
No. Well, how do you know they didn't load your trailer with something illegal? Well, first of all, I didn't tell them this, but if I don't know that something in my trailer is nefarious, I don't know that something in my trailer is nefarious.
Right.
But for the most part, my uncle wanted us to, like, observe the loading process. Okay, so that's a pretty good policy. And so then he proceeded to ask me about what I had done so far that week or whatever. We loaded out of Fort Gibson, Oklahoma, over at the bottling plant. Picked up Gatorade.
Right. That
went to Tulsa to Gatorade. And then he's like, okay, so where'd you go from there? I picked it up at the same place. Like, do they put the same stuff back on you? Well, I picked up more Gatorade. So the stuff you just delivered, they put back in a trailer? No. Oh, so like a different flavor? Yeah, sure, I guess.
Yeah.
And that went to California. And then he's like, okay, well, what'd you get after that? Powerade. And he was at this point, he's like,
I give up.
No, you're full of shit.
Yeah.
Gatorade, picked up Powerade. He's like, okay, and where'd you take that load? Eugene, Oregon. What'd you get? Grass seed. I was so excited to tell him something other than a beverage, but
that they're going to put into Powerade.
Yeah, after I was there for like 2 hours or whatever, 2.5 hours, because my uncle wanted us to take, it was a Highway 2, I think it is, that goes around Lincoln up
right,
and comes back down. They just take that bypass, go on 2, and come out right there by the Sapp Brothers in Iowa, 10 miles from Missouri. Right. That's the way he wants us to go, because you don't have to deal with all the extra traffic and all the other interchanges. It's just done. But I needed fuel, so I had to go past that exit, go to the Flying J, and I came back to get on the route that he wants me to take. Well, green light on the scales, fuel, come back, and that's where I got red lighted in, going westbound. But after like 2.5 hours of, them asking, well, could we go in your truck? Could we go in your trailer? I'm like, fucking go ahead. It's not my truck. You're not going to find anything. And he's looking at me like, what's that supposed to mean? I'm just that. You're not going to, I'm not doing anything stupid. I'm just trying to get to Memphis. Lord knows I didn't really want to go to Memphis, and then they get them climbing out of the truck, tossing my bunk and shit like I'm some sort of convict. And he's like, so how much cash do you have in the cab? I was like, you better not have found any fucking cash in that cab. Why? You didn't think you hit it well? I'm like, no, because I ran out of fuel north of Eugene, and I had to wait for a wire from C.H. Robinson. So if you found fucking cash, that would have come in useful like 3 days ago.
Right.
And so how much cash did you find? Oh, we didn't find nothing. You better not have. Pocking it in. Oh, I didn't find nothing.
Right.
But yeah, that was like the most negative ordeal I've been through, other than sitting in a dock for a full 10-hour break for no reason.
Yeah,
it's usually a shipper that happens but receivers, grocers in particular, they love to waste our time.
Right.
And so,
well, getting back to your original point, though, I mean, like what we do here at Bowerman is so much easier than the old way of doing things.
Right.
Or going OTR or having to sit for long times at docks and not getting paid, not getting miles and all that stuff. I mean, it just takes all the anxiety off of it. But
well, you know what? I hope more people start to watch, because I'm really curious. We can't be the only OTR company or regional OTR, whatever you want to classify it as, that does salary.
There's a few. There's a few. But this is the only one I ever worked for.
Right.
And I'll never go back to.
I'm kind of curious on how the others do. I mean, because we can all compare mileage. Doing a lot of them advertise it on the trailers, and we're 70 cents a mile, or teams, or with this, and owner operators of this, but I think we topped out at I want to say 55 cents before we switched, and so a lot of the people that are concerned about the salary, and they think it's too low or too high, or no one's ever said it's too high.
Yeah.
If anyone admits that, I'm gonna smack them upside the head.
It's not as much money as you're gonna make OTR.
Right.
But not everything is about money.
Right.
To me, the disappearance of anxiety of being stuck in traffic or being stuck waiting for a load for 10 hours, or all those things that go away when you're on salary is worth way more to me.
Right. Yeah, especially because now 2 years ago you came in right after we switched. Then, if you've been here about 2 years, right?
Yeah, I mean that's the reason I came here, was for the salary.
So the transition period was bumpy.
Sure.
Because drivers that are getting paid by the mile, they want, I need more miles, I need more miles, I need more miles. And so the example that was given to me was, there's been a couple times we've been offered $15 or $18 or $2,000 to take a load from Little Rock to Memphis. Well, the problem is we don't know where that driver's at. He's going to drive at least an hour to get to Little Rock, maybe 2 hours, depending on where he's at.
Right.
Ooh, $2,000 for 160 miles or whatever. That's damn good money. And so, but that driver's going to spend a couple hours getting there after he's empty, sit in the dock for possibly up to 2 hours, drive to 3 hours, possibly hit rush hour traffic at some point somewhere, maybe, who knows, and then spend some more time in a dock in Memphis getting unloaded. So by the time he's available again, he's got maybe 3-4 hours left. And so that driver spent his entire day racking up his 250 miles, and you're done.
Right.
And so now with the salary, that we don't have to worry about the driver not making their miles. We can get more of those puddle jumper runs. And so in this last year and a half, 2 years, I can't tell you how many times I picked up a load just on one day. They only went 350 miles. It's nice to stop early and be able to throw your feet up, maybe go walk around, do something. It's assuming you're in an area where you can go find entertainment.
Right.
If you're in Lenexa, Kansas, there's a movie theater, a Target, and everything else down the street. Yeah. And so you can go find something to do because you only drove so many miles. So, but coming from a paid by the mile mentality, there's still the whole, you're no longer frustrated or anxious about needing to get more miles. You have to constantly remind yourself you're already paid for your downtime and everything else. You're taken care of.
Absolutely.
But the problem that still sticks around is that perpetual standby. You know what? I have 8 hours left in my day. I'm empty. I'm waiting for them to find me a reload.
Yeah. What do you do?
You can't really get into a movie because you're constantly thinking, have they found something yet? Have they found something yet? Or you'll be getting to the good part, and that's when they'll call. I'm like, damn it. Right. I guess I got to watch this later.
Yeah, can I start playing a video game or something like that?
Exactly.
That's,
but that's
when you
wait
against everything else.
Exactly.
You're like, okay, I'll take that.
So now, I know that a lot of people that have recently departed over we'll say the last 6 months to a year weren't satisfied with the amount of the salary, and I sympathize with them, but I can't to a point, but the salary being what it is, you're not driving real hard. So if you really want to break down your miles per mile for your salary, you're probably making anywhere between 60 to 70 cents per mile or whatever. Now, there's going to be those times where, like, you're going to run 600 miles this day, but is it really going to be 600 miles every day for all 5 or all 6 of your days?
Right.
Doubtful.
It'd be different if it was. If we were running 600 miles a day every day,
right?
It'd be different.
There are a couple times where in a week we'll run. Let's say your 5-day. I think the 5 day is based off of 22 or 2,300 miles. I think I have to look. They gave me all the orientation paperwork so I can get more familiar with it, but that averages to be about, I think, like 65 cents or something like that. But if that week you run more than 550 miles, close to 600 miles every day, well, your pay per mile drops considerably, as low as like 45 cents. So that can be frustrating. So it'd be neat if they came up with a way of a sliding pay scale. You know, if you reach this milestone or whatever else through the week, in order to compensate you for having to work harder, here's like $25.
Right.
And so I talked to some people about it, and they're like, well, what happens if you run like only 1,800 miles that week or only 1,500 miles a week?
Yeah, as it goes sliding down.
And so I was like, well, no, it shouldn't slide down.
Right.
They're like, well, why not? Well, when we were in mileage, obviously if we're in a dock, if we're on time, we have the potential to get paid detention. Obviously, you see some of the way these loads are brokered, not dispatched, but brokered, the brokered loads. Like, there's no way it could have been there on time. If you're not there on time, you're not entitled to detention.
Right. It doesn't start until, like, if you get there early,
right,
it doesn't count either.
2 hours after your appointment time.
Right.
But same goes, so there's the potential for detention, but then there's I've been waiting for 6 hours for another reload. My wheels aren't turning. And so, but in that case, if your salary, they shouldn't reduce your pay because you only ran less than 2,000 miles. Because if you were mileage, sitting there waiting to get a load and you don't get a load till the next morning, and you wasted the last 8 hours of your day, they started paying us sit pay or layover pay, like maybe $100, $150, depending on how many hours we had left on our clock, and when I'm able to start, whenever we're able to start rolling again. So taking the slide down on salary would counteract what we used to get for not getting more miles. They would give us like, hey, let's make you whole. Right. Here's $100 because we didn't find you a load. So the lower miles and leaving the pay scale the same would be no different than us getting layover pay. And they're like, yeah, maybe. So I don't know. Maybe we'll be able to implement something. But,
I think you're thinking about it a lot harder than I am. I actually, when I was working for Variant, which is part of U.S. Express, which is now part of Swift or Knight, and that big huge conglomerate. I can
see why you left.
Well, I actually liked it. I mean, honestly, I liked it because I was on a business team where we got to go to Atlanta and meet with the CEO, and we would talk about new philosophies, and we would talk about the software they use for dispatch and things like that, and these types of things. And I put together a whole presentation and about exactly what we're talking about, like a salary where you didn't have to worry about layover time, traffic, retention, or anything like that. You would just every week you would know exactly what you were going to get, right? And it had it exactly how you described it with the sliding scale. Because some drivers are going to be motivated to drive regardless of what they're going to be making that day. They're just going to try to drive as much as they can. And so, but their pushback, number one pushback was that they wouldn't be able to keep the drivers motivated to drive as much as they needed them to. That was their main pushback. They said it'll never work. And I said, but it's still out there in the field.
Because I like to take credit. We'll say 50% credit for the whole salary thing, because year before that and year before that, before we even considered salary, I approached the owners like, look, this would be a good idea if we did this, because we were hauling a lot more customer freight, so we were waiting on a customer for an available appointment time, causing a lot of additional sitting, and this would alleviate the anxiety with like, hey, the wheels aren't turning, I'm not earning, we do this. But they mentioned basically the same thing. Every time that we had like a fleet-wide merit raise, we'd see a drop in productivity. People wouldn't push themselves as hard because, well, I only want to bring home this much money. Ooh, I'm making 2, 3, 4 cents more per mile. Okay, well, I don't need to work this hard. I can work this hard and still bring home the same amount. And so, and they've interviewed several other companies and found that to be the case across the industry when trucking companies would give out fleet-wide merit raise just to kind of keep up with the industry and what the industry is doing with their pay. You know, they'll give out, okay, well, the now average of whatever pay per mile, we're going to add 2 cents to ours.
I think every company's trying to figure out like how best to incentivize people to do their best, right? And then to reward them for that. But then, you know, I mean, I've worked at, you know, so many different truck companies in that first 2 years. I got a good taste of like all the variables.
Right.
Like I worked at Tyson, where, you know, it's a good company, but you may go to someplace in Pennsylvania to pick up a frozen load,
right?
And you'd wait 8 hours, and that trailer would already be loaded. It'd already have a seal on it.
Well, you're just waiting for paperwork or something? Or?
They had to wait until the production line shut down, and the next crew would come in, and they clean the production line, make sure that no bolts or screws were missing, and then release the load.
Oh, okay.
So, like, they didn't want to send a load of frozen chicken out,
with a bolt,
and then they missed a bolt, from the production line, right? So you would wait for like 8 hours.
Yeah, that'd be a hell of a deal.
Not getting paid for that. You get like they didn't do layover time or layover pay,
right?
And then they want you to drive 11 hours after that. I mean, I would drive about 3,000 miles in 5 days,
right?
But yet you're working 22 hours a day. It was crazy. I was like, y'all are wearing me out.
Speaking of miles throughout the week, here's an example of how our mileage has shifted from mileage to salary. My average for a 5-day was about 550 miles every day. So what is that? 25.
That's a big.
That's like 20.
I don't think my average is
2750, 2750 to 2850 for 5 days, in between 29 and 3600 miles for a 6-day. Is how many miles we were rolling
before.
Okay. Before, but there was a lot more revenue potential out there that we could have gotten, but I would only got like maybe 200 miles of that load or 300 miles for that load, so they would pass on those. So that's why a lot of our runs are a lot less now, because these shorter runs just pay better.
Right.
And so,
yeah. I would, as we're talking, and I was hoping I get to ask this question, and I'd love to hear from the upper echelon about, how are we doing right now in this, when the load pay is so low. And they're having to fight all these other companies bidding on loads and stuff.
Right.
But I know from a business standpoint, if I knew what I was going to be paying every driver every week,
right,
makes it a whole lot easier to look at accounting and how I'm going to do next year and things like that. But, I want Bowerman to do well.
Right.
And I want everybody to do well. And I just want, I'd love to know. And I've asked it of a couple of people, and they've kind of told me, we're good to go for like 3 or 4 years. But, what is it right now?
I can tell you at the very least, Jacob, one of the owners, have you ever met him?
No. Always
been extremely well with money. Always has been. I don't know if it's true, but I've heard that when we're in Judsonia, he'd have like maybe 2 or 3 paychecks that he hasn't even cashed because he doesn't need them. I'm not saying he's making like $5,000 a paycheck, so that's the reason why he didn't need to cash his checks. Just that he just manages money so well. I have heard, he hasn't told me personally, but I've heard through third party that, despite what freight is doing out here in the world, if we were all shut down and our salary is based on our availability. If we're all available, but there ain't a damn load anywhere,
right?
We're available. He could do that for the entire fleet for a year, easy. Everyone will still be fed basically for a year. It might be longer than that.
Right.
I also know, based on our miles and what the driver pays across the board, the average pay per mile, it sits right around 65 cents is what the fleet average is.
Right.
And so that's a lot. I mean, that's right there with what the industry average is. It may have creeped up closer to 70 cents, but, you know, I mean, with the salary release, we're guaranteed a 1% raise every year and 2% every 5th year. So there's that.
Right.
So, but yeah, I think because of how well everything is going, we'll be fine.
Yeah. I'm not worried about it. I just like, it coming from where I came from, I was always aware of that. And, I love what I do now because I don't have all those things, to go to sleep to at night, I can just let it all go when I part, but it's just part of my background. I guess you could say it's still in my blood.
Are you a generational trucker?
No. I've only, like I said, I've only been doing it for 4 years.
Oh, I wasn't sure if
I
maybe
came at
Daddy
this. Oh, hell no.
So what did you do before driving then?
I worked in technology. I worked for fuel technology. I mean, back when.
What do you mean fuel technology?
Well, so when my dad was in the convenience store industry, and when I first got into fuel, I was basically running convenience stores when I was like 19.
Right.
So I had like 27 convenience stores in Northeast Texas that I supervised. But then I got into the technology side of it, where I was building convenience stores and getting the environmental license to do tank installs and stuff. And this is back when all the dispensers and stuff were mechanical, and technology was just coming along where you could start putting your credit card in the dispenser and go inside. Okay, I mean, like, I remember when I went to school for a point of sale company, and just so we could install those point of sales in these convenience stores, I went down there in Florida, and I was like, God, up in Arkansas, we're still trading chickens for fuel. It's like, and our point of sale is a cigar box, and you put the money in there and get the money out the customer needs. But I mean, that's kind of where I came from, and then I went from there and more into the technology side of it, and moved to like designing point of sale systems.
So how the hell did you get into trucking though?
Well, I won't tell you the whole story. So I retired.
So is it okay? So you just wanted something to do? Is that why you're here?
No. I'm out here for a purpose. But I retired like 12 years ago, and from the technology industry, and my wife and I just got rid of everything. We waited for the kids to graduate high school and put together this plan. It's like, let's get rid of all of our shit and just travel around America. I think originally the plan was to travel around the world. We were
get an RV and travel around.
Yeah, originally we were going to do a sailboat and sail around the world.
Oh, wow.
And so we bought a sailboat and started teaching ourselves and shit. And,
well, there's always those, they have those year-long cruises.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be crazy.
Oh, I don't know.
All
See,
over the world.
I'm the kind of guy, Chris, that I would never want to get on a boat where somebody else is in charge. I'm like, no, I've already done that on sailboats. I used to race in regattas and stuff like that, and crew and stuff. But when we got ready to do it, I realized, holy shit, my wife is still working, and I needed to keep her online. And back then, it was like $5,000 a month to get any kind of system that would keep her connected on a sailboat.
Right.
With any kind of bandwidth and stuff like that. I'm like, damn. So.
Oh, well, it was before Starlink.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. I could, Elon was talking about Starlink back then, and I was like, oh, come on, hurry up.
Right.
Yeah. But there were systems you could get, but it was like $5,000 a month for like 10 gig a month. It was just very low bandwidth. But anyway, we went and drank some tequila one night and said, let's just buy a truck and an RV and stay here in the States. I can keep you connected, and we'll still see the lower 48. So we did that for like 6 years.
Oh, wow.
So I pulled like a 40-foot fifth wheel.
So you were a full-time RVer for a while.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And so when we decided my wife wanted to chase another passion, and we needed to kind of be settled down, so we came back to Arkansas near her family.
Right.
And we bought some land, and all of a sudden I'm buying tractors and big lawn mowers and, building the house and building barns and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, my retirement's not really, that robust, so I need to do something else. And I said, well,
I'm not Bill Gates, damn.
Exactly. But I figured, well, if I can pull a 40-foot fifth wheel I can probably get my CDL. And
Right.
my original idea, Chris, was to like do hot shot.
Okay.
I already had the 1-ton truck.
Right,
I had a 40-foot flatbed, and I said, well, I'm just going to get my CDL so I can carry. I won't have any limits of what I can carry.
Right.
I did that for like 3 months, and I was just wore out, like sleeping in the back of my truck. I built like a nice bed back
I've
there,
seen lots
my
of
coffee pot, my printer, and all that stuff in there. And but
I've seen those now. They have like this, like a sleeper add-on you can add to your truck that goes over the cab.
Yeah, I looked
you
at
can
all
access
that
the
stuff.
sleeper through the sunroof or whatever. It looks cool. I'm like, I don't want to do that.
I talked to that company. They had a 1-year waiting list on all those damn things.
No shit.
Yeah.
Damn it.
But and then you're still not able to stand up anywhere, or
Right.
take a shower or any of that, or really cook your food in there. Or anything.
Right,
But,
right.
My big problem was finding a broker I could trust,
Right.
that would find loads for me, so I didn't have to spend every night
Okay.
just sitting there trying to find my next load.
Yeah, when I was with my uncle, I mean, all of our loads came from C.H. Robinson, but we hired this other dude to like watch the load boards and find us stuff,
Right.
where we might want to go and everything else. And so, but he was not affiliated with C.H. Robinson, but his wife worked there, or his girlfriend or wife, she worked there.
Right.
In fact, I tried contacting her on a few loads from when I was here. Like, hey, do we have any of those loads? Hey, this is so and so. What's going on? Oh, hey,
Man, there's this like, when you get into that part of it, there's this whole underworld of people that work from their kitchen.
Oh, I know.
Trying to broker loads and getting right in between the load.
And they're not
your
even
money.
a broker. They're like a middleman. Hey, I'll
Exactly.
connect
I'm
you with this broker.
Yeah, yeah.
They sit there and stare at them load boards
I
all
got
day
5
long.
trucks I'm working with, and that is. But I realized really quick that was not going to be a stable way,
Right.
So I jumped from there into a truck with a company up in Minnesota, and they took me in without having any experience driving a big rig,
Right.
and started there, worked with them for a year, and then tried to get somebody down here south, and started driving for Variant and Tyson, and
Right.
I drove for Magnum out of up Fargo.
You got kids?
Oh yeah, I've got 3.
Okay. Well, I mean,
They're all grown though.
I wouldn't want my kid to want to become a truck driver. I mean, yeah, the money, there's a potential to making good money. I am an IT professional for 2 law firms here in town.
Right.
And I got other side stuff that I do for. I'm that guy that like, hey dude, what's going on? I need help with this. And he finally picked up on my irritation. He'll call me and say, hey man, what's going on? That's bullshit for like 5-10 minutes.
Charging him
Hey,
like a lawyer.
so I got a question. Of course you do. That's the only reason why I called.
Yeah, I mean, they charge by the hour, right? You charge by the hour.
And so, my buddy, no, but the law firms, yeah, I bill the crap out of them. And so, in fact, I've been asked around here a couple of times, how come you don't do our IT? I'm like, it's not my name on the building. You're asking the wrong person.
Right.
And so, I've thrown that at a couple of them a couple of times. Yeah, I've been asked by a couple of people, like, why don't I do the IT around here?
No, my son
They say nothing, but
my son
yeah.
was talking about doing it, and I'm like, I think it's great. Give it a go, whatever you want to try to do. But man, right now, with all the hacking and like ransomware and stuff like that, that would just scare the crap out of me.
IT?
Yeah, I've got a brother-in-law who's got a company in Maumelle, or he works IT in Maumelle.
There's a lot of stuff out there, but for the most part, I haven't really ran into any issues. And so, but I mean, unless you're gonna find it before it finds you.
You would hope so.
If you're browsing on some oddball, sketchy looking site and they're selling this thing I really want and they got it for like this much, and you give them your credit card information, that's on you. That's on you.
Absolutely. But I mean, as an IT guy, you know that like everybody here at the company has laptops. What are they plugging into that laptop?
Right.
What are they like? What links are they clicking on and stuff like that? And if you don't have all that locked down and secure, you're just asking for it.
That's job security. I tell you what, so far I've done a complete server replacement at both of them, but both of them were done a little bit different. And so one, I moved them to a new domain because we got rid of a regular big box server, and I got like a little Synology NAS And so that I chose Synology because they have a directory server built into it. They can't call it Active Directory because Active Directory is Microsoft. But it had a directory server, so I used that, and that was a pain in the butt to get them to like recognize this as the domain controller. Now the other law firm, I did an in-place replacement, and it was all good until maybe a couple months down the road, it would shut down every Monday at like 9 a.m. every Monday. And
Right.
All because there were like 2 roles on the old server that didn't get demoted and then re-promoted on the new server. And so I was like, what the fuck is going on? We don't know what's going on. It just shuts down every Monday. And so I had to dig through like a long list of events and
I know exactly what you're talking about. I've had to deal with that in my career too.
Right.
I mean, and I don't want to get too far away from the trucking, but I mean, when I was working for
it never stays on track.
When our main thing when I was working up in Minneapolis, I worked for Super Value, which is a grocery store company. And I was the director of fuel technology, and my job was to integrate the fuel technology, which is a point of sale system, and to the IBM system in the grocery store, so that customers could just like we do today. I mean, this was a while back before it was so prevalent. But I mean, if you bought a jar of peanut butter in the grocery store, we'd give you a reward or a discount at the fuel, and that had to happen.
Safeway had that up in the Northwest.
Yeah, and Kroger has it, and everybody has it now.
Well,
everybody has it now.
Do you live here in Searcy? No, you don't live here in Searcy.
I live in out in the country, northwest of Conway.
Okay, so.
But what I was going to say was that when we first started this, we had to put fiber optic out there to get the speed that we needed, and we were reaching at that time limits of how far fiber optic could go, and then how deep it had to be based on the temperature outside. And we were also, the first problem we ran into was the switch inside the grocery store. When it would reboot and they would test the emergency generator systems, it would readdress every port on the switch, and we would we'd be down. We could credit card swipes or nothing would work out at the pump, and it took us like 2 weeks to figure it out. What's going on? Sunday night at 1 o'clock in the morning, we're losing connection, right? And it just took a network guy to say, hey, well, this switch wasn't set up right, and it's readdressing everything when it reboots.
That's kind of like what I'm dealing with now. When I leave here, I have to go back over to one of the law firms and reroute and bypass an old router. There was a router that was already there. The problem with these people, they don't bother telling you until something's broken. If I had known that they had upgraded or changed their fiber internet from AT&T,
I would
okay, well, I mean, make sure that nothing's going to have any conflicts later. So the old fiber was still working, and the new fiber was there, and everything's all working. All of a sudden, this Monday, it was still working. There was a clock issue. The server wasn't getting time synced with the time server or some crap. But then Tuesday, no internet. Wednesday, no internet. Well, I found that there was an outage. I don't know how accurate it was. AT&T says, there's an outage in your area. So, okay, that's why you have no internet. But 2 days.
Yeah.
And I found out it's so stupid. It's so that they installed the new router. It's a router, not just a modem.
The law firm did?
Yeah. They AT&T brought it in.
Oh, okay.
Because this router supports phone, so they turn all their copper phones into digital phones instead of having to buy all brand new phones, which could be more expensive. But they brought this equipment in there. They plugged it into the fiber transponder, input, output to the phones. That was it. The old equipment, the old modem and everything else was still hooked up to the network. They still had internet, but I think that at some point the internet finally shut down. The old system, they probably had them both active, so there was some overlap, so that way there's no gap in coverage. Well, when the other one shut down, this one was never patched into the network.
Yeah.
It was never. They had 2 cables plugged into it: transponder, for where the fiber comes in and turns it into a Cat5, and then the other one went to a box that distributes the phone lines. Nothing was plugged into the network. Yeah. So when this internet went down, It all went down. But everybody could still see the printers. They can see the server to get files. Why can we see this, but we don't have internet? Well, because that's all a self-contained network. It's not bridged to the internet.
Right.
And so Tuesday, the guy calls me and is like, "Look, dude, we haven't been able to file or do any of this stuff." And so we're on FaceTime, and I have an Android phone, so that was fun. And he can't point the damn camera in the right spot, so I have him climbing on chairs and grabbing cables and removing stuff. He's like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Just do it."
This is before you knew that they had put that.
No, I saw it there. I didn't think anything of it. I just figured it was just an upgraded thing. I didn't really analyze it because I went there to fix. I set up another a new attorney's computer, so I wasn't really. That wasn't a problem at the time. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So, but I was like, well, I thought that looked new, but I was like, I don't know. I didn't take a picture of all this when I first started working over there to figure out what might be new or whatever. But yeah, he finally got to where all their internet worked. He said, "Oh, I can see everything now." I'm like, "Cool." The next day, nothing's working. I'm like, what? Turns out, it was a router. It had DHCP enabled to assign IP addresses, and the device IP was the same as the old router. So they were constantly competing for who's who's assigning IP addresses. And so like half the office, no problem. The other half of the office, we can't access shit. so that's why I gotta go. I gotta unplug all the old cables, and I'm gonna plug the old router into another computer so I can get all of its settings, so I can reassign all the assigned IP addresses to everything, so there's no conflicts. And oh goody. So I had to go grab a step ladder and throw it in the truck before, because it's like 8 feet in the air.
It's fun. It's fun.
So,
Brandy, she doesn't think that like I understand what it's like to be in dispatch and trying to handle things with a phone. I'm like, I totally understand. I did for years.
Yeah, but they do things a lot different than what they used to. You've been in there, right? You've seen their computers. It's just a bunch of. It's just. I don't. Yeah, I'm like. Yeah, I'm sure you can pick it up pretty quick, but just looking at it like, nope.
Oh no, I wouldn't. I'd never want to do what they do. Never.
No, they'd have to deal with us.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, we never do we call in and say, "Hey, you know what? I'm having a great day. I just wanted to say hi." Never. That never happens, right? We're always calling, I've been sitting here for 2 hours, or where's my next load, or I'm going to be late, or,
After like 3-4 hours of getting bored of like going, okay, Facebook says I reached the end. YouTube says I reached the end. There's nothing enough for me to watch. Hey, y'all, just checking to make sure my phone rebooted.
Oh, exactly. I do the same thing.
I just want to make sure that you all didn't try to send me anything.
I send like these really snarky messages in.
Forget about me.
I know.
No, we're still looking. We're still looking.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they don't even have time to be proactive. When you checked out of that last load, they're not going to call you and say, "Hey, we know you're empty. You're gonna. We're looking for something." Right. They're not. They don't have that kind of time, but.
No, that would be helpful at some point. And so, who's your? Never mind. We'll ask you later. Don't need to come back to bite us in the butt later on.
Oh no, you mean like my dispatcher?
Yeah.
Oh no, I love all those people. I mean, they change. They get wore out. They get burned out and move on. But
Oh, so you were here when Larissa was still here then? Yeah. She was good people. I guess I don't know the story. It could have been burnout. Could have been something else. But. Don't know because she's not here. So
according to her, she's like loving what she's doing. I mean, she just told me what she was going to go do.
Are you friends with her on Facebook?
No.
Man, I keep on seeing her post. She's all over the damn place. I don't know what she's doing for work, but I think she was in Minnesota or Minneapolis just recently. I'm like, what?
Yeah, she said she was going to be traveling, and
so I mean, if it's traveling for work, yeah. I mean, we travel for work, but it's not really the same thing.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, if my kid wanted, I said no. I don't want you to be a truck driver. I don't want my kids to be a truck driver.
But everybody that doesn't drive a truck, right? They always say, "Wow, man, it's got to be so much fun. You get to see so much stuff." And I'm like, dude,
it is when you start. Because you get to travel. I mean, I've planned road trips over the past couple of years. When we drove out to instead of flying or whatever, we drove out to California to meet up with family and everything else. I'm like, okay, we're going this way, and we're gonna go this way,
past the Grand Canyon.
You know why? Because I've driven by all this bullshit over the years. Nowhere I can stop this damn truck. I want to be able to get out and stretch my feet and check this shit out.
Yeah.
And so if it was, there's a positive. There you go.
Sure.
There you go.
Yeah.
That if it wasn't for this job, not this company, but this job, there's a lot of these places I wouldn't have thought I'd want to go see on my own. Like, I say South Dakota, you're like, you know. But if you drive through South Dakota, you're like, you have the 1880 town. There's Waldrug, which they let you know from 6 states away. So,
which is really not that much.
It's a huge like little
I've
shopping.
been there.
It's neat, but there's no
T-shirt.
There's no truck parking,
Yeah.
and so you see all these damn things. You got the corn palace and all this other crap. The Badlands.
Oh,
of
Badlands
course, going through Rapid City and Sturgis and all that. I'm like, we all know what Sturgis is. I've never been.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, you see the signs for Mount Rushmore. I tried doing some research to figure out if there's any kind of truck parking. I could have taken
Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, I probably could have taken the tractor because I called. I asked tons of questions. Like, well, there are a few spots for larger RVs. That's where you would have to park. But if there's people, they only have a few of them. And it's usually pretty busy, so you have to show up right when someone's leaving, or get lucky that there's a spot open when you get here. So I'm like,
I'm surprised because they've got some pretty damn small tunnels that go into Mount Rushmore. So they've got it. Oh yeah,
they've got it.
It was okay.
Because look at all the pictures you see of it. It's this massive, majestic. Also, you get there and like that little thing. I mean, it's a perspective thing, but I'm like,
it's still pretty cool though.
My first thought was, I thought it'd be bigger.
Up in that area, because you got the Badlands, but with Devil's Tower.
We were gonna go see that, but we'd already burned up a lot of time with Reptile Gardens, Mount Rushmore, and Badlands. That we're like, well, it's not right off the highway. Because if it was, we'd be able to see it from the highway.
Devil's Tower is definitely something you should see.
We thought about doing the whole. Cool. We thought about doing the whole Yellowstone thing too, but every time we look, traffic is just crazy and slow getting in and out of there because you're not going to go in the dead of winter because they shut down the roads anyways. But so we didn't get to do that. So that's just another one list or bucket list.
We want to go back to Yellowstone for sure.
I've been when I was a kid.
You know, one of my favorite places, though, you were talking about you were from Washington. You know what my favorite place was out of all we traveled around?
Is it like a real touristy type of spot?
Nope. Okay. I don't think so. Coos Bay.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we parked there, and everybody that was there was like crab pot fishermen and salmon fishermen. And
remind me where Coos Bay is.
It's south of Washington and Oregon.
Oh, okay.
So it's on the.
I was like, I know it, but that's not Washington.
Yeah, no, but I mean, you were close.
Right. Yeah, my brother lives in Canby. It's like 45 minutes from Portland, so they go to the dunes all the damn time. Yeah, and so I've seen a lot of videos of people getting stuck. I'm like, no, I'm not. I don't want to work that hard. It looks like fun, but if you lose traction and start digging, you're done. Yeah, I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah, that would be the place that if I was going to go, if I could just pick anywhere to live, it'd be up that area.
Oregon? No, I don't know if I'd pick Oregon. Now, it'd be a better place to visit. Like I've been to Crater Lake. I've been to on the coast on 101. The Tillamook factory in Northern California, the redwoods and all that. I've gotten to see all that on road trips when I was a kid. But in Washington, there are several awesome places to go check out in Washington.
Oh, we stayed out on
both the mountains. Leavenworth.
Yeah, we stayed on Olympic National Park, right across from
We went up there this last summer, and we went up to Port Angeles, and we were going to go up to the visitor center. It was the whole highway was shut down. The visitor center had burnt down like 3 months before, so you couldn't even go up there. You could only go to the visitor center right there in Port Angeles. You couldn't go up to the peak. The peak. Yeah, I'm like, damn it, that's. I've been to Mount Rainier several times. I finally took them the one time, and I've been to Mount St. Helens several times, and a couple years before that, I took them over there, so they got to see that.
Mount St. Helens is
But
cool.
I've never been over there to the Olympics. I'm like, I want to go. I want to go check this shit out. We're gonna go. We're gonna find a day. We're gonna go over there when it's nice. And
now that's where I think that's where we stayed, was Port Angeles. That was where the
ferry goes to Victoria.
Yeah, and then there was the Italian restaurant that they did the. I'm gonna forget. My wife is my memory, but I mean, she know exactly what I'm talking about. But they did the werewolf vampire show.
Oh, Twilight.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, that's in Port Angeles.
Yeah, that was the Italian restaurant we went to. Was like where they did like some scenes. And it was written about in the book.
Right. But, we were. I mean, it would have been like an all-day ordeal, and her dad and her stepmom were in another car going with us up there to Port Angeles to go do some stuff for the day. But what we should have did is gone to Forks after we left Port Angeles. We also went to not Long Beach, Ocean Shores. We were in Ocean Shores for a few days. So if we would have taken 101 north.
Well, people don't realize like that's a completely different experience with the ocean. On that side of the country.
Oh, God, yeah.
I mean, there's no sand on the beach.
There's plenty of sand.
Well, it's all polished rock or like.
Oh, no. That's not on Puget Sound. The ocean, it's all sand. But you will freeze your balls off.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's seals and whales swimming through there. It's just beautiful.
I never realized how much warmer the Atlantic was till we visited family in North Carolina back in 2005. And I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
It's warm.
Yeah.
Must be nice. You can be in Southern California in the hottest day of summer, and you're still freeze to death in that damn water in the Pacific. It's crazy. Of course, the Pacific will also try to kill you because the waves are much more aggressive in the Pacific than they are in the Atlantic.
Well, when the tide would go out there at Olympic, there'd be people out there walking, getting mussels.
Oh,
and just filling up the bags. Yeah.
Gooey ducking, yeah.
And you don't see tides, on the East Coast that much, but on the West Coast,
not as much of a
in and out.
Yeah, up there. Yeah, I remember walk, and like from here, it'd be like from here to like the other end of the Walmart DC. I mean, you could drive, get closer, but just a long walk. But by the time tide comes in, it's right there by the highway now.
Right.
And so it has just a huge,
beautiful country, man.
In and out.
Beautiful country we live in.
Yeah, and so we lived up on the Kitsap Peninsula, Bremerton area. Mm-hmm. So next to all the shipyard and Keyport, the nuclear base, and all that. So yeah, so that was probably a good deal. So if we're gonna go to war, we'd be the first ones to go.
Everybody thinks that, like,
just freaking end it. They're gonna bomb our nuclear bases, or Mount Rainier is gonna blow up and take us out that way.
Or Mount St. Helens has still got stuff coming out of there.
Yeah, but most of its top's gone, so we don't have to worry about it no more.
Yeah, sure.
What was that, May?
You'd probably be more dangerous at Yellowstone. That's what they all think.
That's geologically, Yellowstone is a caldera, and that is
it's like way past its time for an eruption.
It's an extinction event, basically. Is what it is. If
it'd be Woody Harrelson standing there going, "Yeah!"
Right, from movie 2012. Yep. Yeah. Oh yeah, but yeah, I mean that's one of the cool things that I really enjoyed about when I first got into driving. I got into it because I was roofing. No, what was I doing? Oh, I was working for Taco Bell, and I was almost a manager. They didn't want to promote a manager because they're a bunch of dicks, for, whatever. And so my manager was out on medical leave, and she was gone long enough to where they had like put someone else in her place. This person decided to fire me for stealing money out of the till. This is before the credit card machine was integrated into the register. It was a separate device, so they'd have to like ring it up as cash. They found a credit receipt on the floor. They didn't know what till it went into, and they said, "Well, just put it in your till, or I should put it underneath the foot of my till." Is what I did,
right?
Because I don't know if it goes in mine or up front. She decided to pull my till in the middle of my shift, and count it down, give me a fresh till. I'm like, whatever, and grab that credit receipt, put it in there. I was like, I don't know if that's mine. Right. It was like for like $19 and some change or whatever.
So it was short.
No, it was over. It was over.
Oh, because you hadn't taken the money out yet.
Because that credit receipt,
that was your marker.
That's what they were thinking. So
yeah.
But that credit receipt wasn't even mine.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, you're deleting orders or whatever. And I'm like, really? everyone can see it on the screen when an order is deleted and not served.
Yeah.
I mean, do you not watch the monitors of like pending orders, in progress, deleted, or DT served?
But they're trained to look for markers.
But
I was trained to look for markers. You know, like if you got somebody stealing, they'll be like lining pennies up on the counter to let them know how much money they haven't rung up. They're supposed to take out.
Yeah, we caught one in Pine Bluff when we moved down here. She had several pending orders that cleared off that she cleared off the monitors, but left them pending in the register, so she could like whatever, and count out how much each of them were, and then deleting them or whatever.
So
I left.
Yeah. So what do you like about working at Bowerman?
About Bowerman?
Yeah. 15 years, 17 years.
15 years. I live 5 minutes down the road.
Yeah.
It to me, some of it's what Bowerman offers and brings to the table. Most of it is it's stupid. It's like these arcade games. You can play that game, get the best score and everything else, but if you unplug it or quit, you don't keep the high score. So for me, it's like I've worked at Bowerman longer than any other place I've ever worked. So if I leave, that's it.
Yeah.
That 15 years is that's it. That's it. It can't go any higher until I work somewhere else for more than 15 years.
Yourself in.
So I'm like, you know what? I mean, I've been here long enough where I have 4 weeks paid vacation, and so I don't want to start from ground zero. So that's my biggest thing.
Right.
Also, working for Taco Bell, I did a lot of the hiring, and the applications that I would like glance and just skip over are the ones that have job. So I don't want to have to worry about, well, if I hire you, how long you'd be here, like 2 months, like your other jobs. So I know that it looks bad on application or resume to see job in just a short period of time. Granted, I'll have one listing, one job for the last 15 years because you don't need to know what I did before.
Right.
Because there's no point at that point because that person doesn't exist no more. So there's that.
What do you want to do? What do you want to do when you're not driving a truck anymore?
Shoot, I don't even know. I mean, I played a lot of games, but over these past couple of years, the interest in that has kind of like fallen to the wayside little by little, and I'm like,
I still stay in
it.
It's
disappointing, but I like movies, and so
me too.
As far as I'm a data whore, is what I am. Every year I have to buy like a bunch more hard drives because I'm running out of space in the servers, and it's shit that I probably won't even look at ever again. But I'm like, I gotta keep it, gotta have it. So I got like every NES, Atari game, it's just all stored in an archive on my server. Just maybe I want to play Mario Brothers one day or whatever. So even games that I would probably never want to play, like hockey. I'm not gonna play a hockey video game or Nintendo game, but I have it.
Right.
So, but I like to travel. I mean, a lot of people ask me like how this came about, and this is basically from being a shipper or receiver, and you see our drivers shooting the shit. Well, let's just put microphones in front of everything and record it, throw it on the internet. Maybe someone else will enjoy the stories. And so I came up with the names. Obviously, this right here is Big Rig Banter, but it's on the channel, The Open Road, because I wanted to evolve and include other types of travel, like RVing, traveling cross country, because it can encompass all that stuff. But we bought an RV last year. Yeah, last year around March, I think. And so we've used it like 5 times now. And so only here in Arkansas, because I only have an F-150.
Right.
And it's right there, as far as legality and everything else. So she's like, we should take it to Texas to go to Galveston. I'm like,
is it bumper pool?
Yeah.
So of course. So you got it set up with the sway bars and everything, so it doesn't swing around back and forth.
Yeah. And so now I think I have it set up right. I'm not entirely sure. I mean,
you never know.
I did all kinds of measurements and everything else, and I haven't taken across the scale before and after and engaging the distribution bars and everything else, see how the weight gets redistributed and everything else. But the anti-swear, you kind of feel this a little bit, but it's not swinging all over the place. So I'm thinking that small little jerks, is it like resisting the sway?
Yeah, it's doing what it's supposed to.
It still feels weird though. I'm like, I think it's set up right.
Yeah, that's why I think we started that way, and I'm like, no, I got to go back to like the 5th wheel.
Right.
And
I'd like to get a 5th wheel. I told the wife, I want to buy another truck. I don't need a 1-ton because I think a 1 ton is overkill. I'm not trying to get like a 38-foot fifth wheel toy hauler. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Because, you know, one kid's already out of the house and the other one's 17. So he's only going to be around for a little bit longer. He should be off in college somewhere on a full ride band scholarship.
Cool.
And so, yeah, I want to get like ours now. I think it's like it's a 27-foot trailer, but I think this living space is like 25 or something like that. 25, 27, somewhere in there. So I was like, I want to get the same overall length from bumper to bumper, but with a fifth wheel.
Sure.
And I'll give you like another like 6 or 7 feet that's over the bed and everything else. So it's not really bigger. It's the same length. We don't need anything huge.
But it pulls just like our rigs.
Yeah,
do.
it'll pull
it's like
and ride a lot better. And so
absolutely.
But yeah, that's what I want to do. And once I get like 3/4 ton at least, yeah, that's when I'll consider taking our campers over state lines. But right now, no, because it's like right there. And if insurance got involved, something happened, insurance got involved, and it really looked at all the weights. Technically, we're not officially legal. I'm within my towing capacity, but that's what they sell you on at the dealership is your towing capacity. Oh yeah, you're good. You got like a 13,000 pound towing capacity.
Right.
Yeah, but what about payload capacity?
Oh yeah.
Because I have a Lariat, and so I have an upper trim level, and so my payload capacity I think is like 1,300 pounds. That's without fuel, without my fat ass in the truck.
Right.
And so without anything that might have been added to the front of the camper, like full propane tanks or any equipment in the
or if you've got any water in any of your tanks in the trailer, like you know, on your gray.
Well, we're not dry camping, so we don't do that. So. But still, after all said and done, I technically have like 850 pounds available, or like about 800 pounds available for payload. The tongue weight on my camper dry is 600 pounds. I'm pushing it.
Yeah.
So she's like, let's take it to Disney World. We'll take it to Camp Wilderness because it'll be so much cheaper. It's only $70 a night instead of like $150, $200 a night. I'm like, I hear you, but gas is gonna be a lot more expensive. And two, I'm not taking my truck all the way to Florida pulling that damn camper. You've lost your mind. you just want to use it. You just use an excuse so you can buy a new truck. I'm like, I don't want to hear it.
I got to tell you, we took our fifth wheel to so we did the West Coast first, and then everything between here and the West Coast.
Right.
And then we came back for like the holidays one year and stayed around here for a little while. And we upgraded some stuff, and then we went to the Keys in Florida.
Right.
Just went straight from here down there.
All the way down to the Keys. That looked like it would be a neat drive.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Because they're like really long land bridges between all the islands, right?
Yeah. There's only one way in, one way out.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, a boat or
plane. Well, we actually stayed in Marathon, which is like right before you get down to the Keys, and we stayed there we were going to stay for 6 months. We stayed for 5 months. But I mean, I was right there on the ocean.
Right.
I mean, you just step out of the door and there's the ocean. You know,
right.
There's like a little boat channel through there. But oh man, it was beautiful. But I hooked up with somebody down there that was retired and fished every day, and I became like one of his crew. And that guy, he was like 75 at that time or something, but he would go out every day at like 5 in the morning, 4:30 in the morning, and we'd stay out all day long fishing, and then come back, and he wore me out. I was like, for 3 months straight, every day I went out there and fished.
Can you come out and play it? No, dude. I need a nap, dude. Just.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll pass.
And we'd go out like 30, 40 miles in his old boat and just fish for tuna and mahi and stuff out there.
Right.
And at first I'm like a kid in a candy store. You know, I'm like, oh, I love to fish. But this kind of fishing was all new. But man, that guy wore me out.
Man, I was born in Alaska, And I only bring that up because there's another channel that I stumbled across when reading and learning more about the whole RV thing, you know, figuring out what people do, what equipment they recommend, what they like and why. And, you know, there's several videos that say you should have these. You don't need to have this version of it, but you need to have at least something like this or that. So I've watched all these videos, and there's a couple channels that I've grown to liken to. One in particular I still watch, and that's it's the Hanks. There's Carl and Nene. Anyways,
yeah,
they last summer they spent the whole summer up in Alaska. I'm like, oh damn it.
Are they boondocking? Are they like
they've just gotten into more boondocking? They didn't do a whole lot of it because they're traveling nurses originally, and so they spent a lot of the time down in Florida. Or going across or the Midwest and everything else. But this last year they decided to go up to Alaska, and they drove all through Canada and everything else. And you know, they shared their experience and how much everything cost and fuel and everything else, how much they spent. And I mean, I don't know how much money they make or had made and saved away, but their whole trip, like crossing into Canada, all the way through Canada, their entire time in Alaska, and then back, like $59,000. For like 6 months.
Whoa,
that ain't bad at all.
Why? But why would that cost them so much? Was that part of the equipment?
That's everything. That's fuel. That's RV sites. That's splurging, going on excursions and everything over Alaska.
That's so like if they're staying at RV sites and stuff like that,
right?
I say that some was like
that was six. That's 6 months though. So $110,000. We spend more on that on ourselves here, and we drive down the road to go home. So
well, I watch people like because recently I've been talking about like what I want to do when I stop driving a truck was I wanted to keep traveling,
right?
And I was thinking about getting a 1-ton truck with the biggest slide in that I could get because I did not want to pull a trailer through Mexico and go down where I want to go is South America. Right, and spend like a couple of years down there.
I don't know. I'd be worried about traveling a lot. I don't know. That's Canada's one thing. That's basic. It's US 2.0.
Well, but I mean,
driving all the way through Mexico.
People that do it though, just like you, I do research and like watch people that ride motorcycles down there and stuff. But what I was going to say is like, there's people that just go from like Europe, to Chile. And then buy like a Toyota Land Cruiser used or something like that, and then just travel around the country like that. And they spend $10,000 a year, total. But they don't say in RV parks.
Well, all their expense also includes all their internet, their cell phones that they just like give. I mean, which I thought was gonna be higher.
Yeah.
But what was really awesome about their little mini series about them going to Alaska is when we moved to Washington, we drove. I was 8 when we drove down to Washington, so I remember a lot, but I obviously forgot as much as I remember. But I'm like, they went through. I'm watching their videos. I'm like, oh, you guys should have did this. Yeah. Oh, you should have did that. You didn't go to Hatcher Pass Gold Mine. You didn't go to Independence Mine. What the hell? What, you were in Palmer? You didn't go during the Palmer, the state fair? Because the state fair is in Palmer. They didn't do that. I'm like, oh, you people are crazy. Oh, you didn't go to Fairbanks and check some shit out. Oh, my, oh, you went to Seward? That's awesome. You didn't do this. You didn't do that. And then I'm like, oh. They did an excursion from somewhere. They took a plane up the mountain and everything else where they do all the sled dog training. So they did do some sled dog runs and everything. So I'm like, oh, I'm from Alaska and I haven't even done that.
Right.
And so.
But you can do it now when you get out of the truck, man. You can go up there and just stay.
This is gonna sound kind of strange. I've only seen pictures and videos of the Northern Lights.
Right. I've never seen them. I saw them in Minneapolis. It was weird. We were out snowmobiling way up north and almost to the Canadian border.
But it's crazy that people are like, you grew up in Alaska and you've never seen them? Like, no. I'm like, I
definitely want to go back.
The videos I've seen, if you've never seen it, I've seen VR experiences where people took 360-degree video of it and everything else. Like, some of them are time lapsed because they don't move as quickly as they show in videos. Yeah. But just watching them, I can only imagine seeing that in person has got to be a very emotional thing because it's just so awesome.
Right.
Awesome in the original sense of the word awesome.
It's funny you bring that up because my wife's family, we always come up with something to do every year.
Right.
This year they wanted to go see the Northern Lights, and we were looking at Alaska or Iceland or places like that, and they finally landed on Iceland.
Oh, wow.
And once they came up with the whole price and everything, I said, I'm out because we're trying to accomplish some goals this year.
Right.
And I just didn't want to, like, spend that much. But that's what they're going for, is to see the
Why
Northern
not just go to Alaska?
I think
it's like 50 or 100 miles just north of Fairbanks. That's the Arctic Circle. I don't know if anyone wants to do that in the dead of winter, but it's kind of a
We looked at all of it, and in Alaska they have these packages where you can go up there and do a dog sled out, and you stay in an igloo with a glass ceiling and
awesome. And I mean, Anchorage still looks the same from all the pictures and videos I've seen of, current pictures and videos of Anchorage. It looks the same, but all the little road trips we used to take of some of the places we used to go are just ruined. There was a ski resort called Alyeska. Alyeska is not there no more. It's been whatever, and some other ski resorts there, and it's not called Alyeska. And it looks like, like you're going to Colorado to Aspen or something.
How'd your dad end up there?
I didn't.
He didn't?
No, I've only met my dad once.
Oh, so this was your mom was living up there?
Yeah.
So how'd she end up there?
Well, my aunt went up there. She's the business scammer, right? So she essentially talked the whole family. Oh, I got this big deal going on up here. Come on. So we went up. So my mom, pregnant with me in a Chevy Chevette with a U-Haul, on certain roads, her front end would come up off the ground because of how much weight was in the U-Haul. Pregnant with me and my older brother in the passenger seat or in the back seat or whatever, driving from Oklahoma all the way to Anchorage. But yeah, we just kind of got stuck up there.
It's not like being in the 48. It's rough. It's not like living in the city.
It is fun being a kid in Alaska.
Sure, I bet.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
I bet.
I remember our first winter down in Washington. I'm like, where's all the damn snow? I mean, it should be snowing already.
Yeah.
And then you start hearing about all those rules about, you better be home before the streetlights come on. That can't be a thing in Alaska. I would go to school to the bus stop in pitch black darkness, the dead of winter.
Right.
It would just be like twilight around first recess. The sun would just barely be cresting on the horizon at lunchtime.
Right.
You get home, 30 minutes is dark out. So I'm like, yeah. I got home, the streetlights were already on. and there's no smartphones, smartwatches. They can't text you or whatever else and just go out and play. I don't know how we ever got home at a decent hour. I couldn't tell you.
Right.
All I know is the mobile home park we were living in, there's a large area that hadn't been developed, and there was a big, huge pile of dirt, and so that was our sledding hill. And so
were you
we'd be
far
out
enough
there.
north where you
Anchorage.
Where is that in relation to Fairbanks? Like
About 6 to 8 hours south.
So
like
you didn't have the permanent night for?
No, I mean not permanent, and Fairbanks doesn't get permanent darkness throughout winter.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
It gets twilight.
Yeah.
It's about as bright as it gets during the middle of winter.
You never have the sun overhead in the winter.
Well,
or is it like just always in the horizon?
It's always on the horizon in the middle of summer. So it could be like 2 o'clock in the morning and look like 7 o'clock in the evening all the time, kind of thing.
Yeah,
at the darkest or whatever. But heck, they made a movie about it. It was with Al Pacino, Insomnia. It's with Robin Williams. He's the bad guy.
Yeah.
And so, I remember the scene. Al Pacino shows up. All right, let's go talk to these people. What do you mean?
Well, they just had to
It's the middle of the night. What are you talking about? The middle of the night? It's 2 o'clock in the morning. What?
We just watched. I think it was called Fairbanks. It was Fargo, but it was based in Fairbanks. This last season 5. But it
There's
has
5 seasons of Fargo.
Yeah.
I hope my wife don't watch this podcast. We started watching it. The first season kind of follows the movie, but we haven't even finished the first season.
Yeah.
And we're like, hey, let's watch an episode. Okay, cool.
Oh, it's awesome.
And
every season's different. It's a totally different place, but
different people every season.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool.
Different story, different.
Right.
But this last season was in Fairbanks, Alaska.
Really?
It had
That would be
Jodie
neat.
Foster. And
Wait,
good.
she's in another show that takes up north.
Maybe it wasn't Fargo.
No. That was damn it. They were just watching this last
You're
weekend.
right, because we were watching Fairbanks and Fargo at the same time.
Because I walked in and I'm watching it. Damn it. Now I gotta look it up. You're gonna drive me nuts.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Yeah.
Crap.
My wife's probably screaming right now. She's like, dude, you got that wrong.
Well, we're not live.
Well, maybe she will be. But she's my memory. She
Right.
she sits next to me and corrects me all the time.
Yeah, it's a new show. True Detective.
Yeah. Same. Oh, it was the same. In my defense, Fargo and True Detective, right? Same type of show,
Right.
That comes on, has many seasons,
Yeah.
and True Detective was
Yeah,
You're right.
I think I sat in the last episode. Did you finish that season?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I don't want to accidentally spoil anything on a show that I don't even watch, but I seen them where they're interviewing and there's that's all I remember.
It took forever to figure anything out. Yeah, I mean, because you had to watch the whole thing to the end. What the hell's going on?
Right. It was
good. I love Jodie Foster.
Yeah, I was like, damn, Jodie Foster's getting old. Damn, what the hell happened? She's come a long way since Taxi Driver.
Well, they made her look even older in that.
I'm sure they did.
Yeah, I mean, she was.
I don't know. Maybe not.
I saw her at the Oscars, and she didn't look that bad.
I've gone to a couple Comic Cons, and the last one we went to was in Little Rock, and I finally grabbed one of the handlers. I'm like, hey, so and so doesn't have anyone in the line or whatever else. Are we allowed to just go up there and just chat them up or whatever else, or is that taboo? Oh, you're not spending any money for an autograph. Right. You don't need to talk to them. Oh no, yeah, go ahead. Yeah. So I got to meet the girl from she was in Chasing Amy, Mallrats, and Big Daddy with Adam Sandler.
Okay.
She was in that, so I talked to her. I met the kid named Podcast that was in the new Ghostbusters movie. He was a neat kid. His parents were there. I chatted with them for a little bit. Did you ever watch the movie The Matrix?
Oh, yeah.
The guy that played Cypher? Shaved head, little goatee and everything else. The one that betrayed everybody.
Oh, yeah. He was
also the chief of police.
He was in
Bad
Sopranos,
Boys.
too. He was
in Sopranos?
Yeah, he was like Tony's brother.
But
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he was there, and so I chatted him up a little bit, and they all look rough as hell, dude. And dude was just
Comic-Con,
Dude was just in the newest Bad Boys movie,
right?
And I'm like, man, dude looks rough. And I wonder who looks rough. Roseanne's ex, the comedian.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
He was there, and I went up and talked to him. I was, hey, welcome to Little Rock. Hope everybody's treating you well and everything else. How are you liking it? And I was like, I don't want to offend you or anything else, but this being Comic-Con, it is kind of strange to kind of see you here because you're not a name or a face that I with it being called Comic-Con, sci-fi and all this and that. But it's really cool to share. It gives you an opportunity, other people to get a chance to meet. It's really neat. I mean, what do you think of Tom Arnold? He was rough as shit. Like he'd been rode hard and hung up wet.
But he's he's a drinker.
Well, he's in other shows. I'm like, man, he don't look. I mean, just recently, I'm like, what the hell happened? They must pile on the makeup or something because I didn't dare tell him that. But damn, dude, you look like shit. And the last year before that, Sting was down there, and everyone was like going up shit. The coolest people that we have ever met was Tom Kenny, the voice of SpongeBob.
Right.
Coolest dude
I think I've seen some videos
met.
with him in there, yeah.
He is a trooper. He keeps his enthusiasm was high the entire time. So we did the photo op with them. The other photo ops we've had, like up in Kansas City and before, they had like a bear you can stand like next to him because the whole pandemic thing and everything else. He was like, "Oh, come on, get in here, come on, guys." I'm like, "Wow, this guy's pretty cool." We were like the second or third person to see him and everything else, and then he was doing autographs in the main event room or main floor, and they stopped people from getting in line because it closed at like 5 o'clock or whatever else, and we were still in line. We didn't get to see him till like 6:30, and his enthusiasm was just as high as it was when we first met him. He was still excited to talk to everybody, and my daughter pissed off the handlers because she she watches like Adventure Time. She watched the whole SpongeBob thing. He does all this other voice acting all over the place, and she's just asking questions and talking about this and that, and the handler's like, there's still people behind you. You can tell he's like, shut the fuck up. Stop asking him questions. And, he's signing our stuff. We paid for it, so it's our time. We should be allowed to use it. But there's still a lot of people in line. I don't think he got out of there till like 7 o'clock. But he says, no, if they're already in line, I will see everybody that's in line. And he was the only mofo still there, which I thought was awesome. Really cool dude. And so...
I got to tell you, in relation to that, I got to tell you this one story. When we were traveling, we came down the West Coast and we were in L.A. and I would make reservations months in advance, because I know we were going to be like making our way down, and normally we'd only go like 6 hours south, stay there for a month. 6 hours south, stay there for a month. That's how we did it, right? And we got to L.A. and I made those reservations, and the lady told me that when we checked in, that where she had put us back then, they were going to be moving all the trailers out, except for ours, and bringing in another one and shooting a scene there from NCIS.
Okay,
and was all cool with that. And I'm like, yeah, hell yeah. So anyway, this one morning.
As long as you tell me what episodes, so I know when to watch.
Oh yeah, I had to look it up, right? So, like, early in the morning, these big vans start showing up, and they're the catering vans and the equipment vans and stuff, and they set up like these rails for camera rails, and then these cranes would come in with like these shadow tarps and stuff on them, and then they brought out this huge, like, when you're in a hotel, they have those carts that you can take your clothes in, right? Well, they have one of those carts, but it's full of chairs for the actors and the director and stuff like that. And it's, what was it, Mark? I'm gonna get it wrong. Damn it.
What's he in?
He's in the NCIS, the main character. I'm gonna say Harmon, but I don't think it's right. But
the new NCIS or the older NCIS?
It's the older one. It's
the same guy that was in summer school.
Maybe.
I think I know who you're talking about. Now again,
but anyway, they all show up. And they start to shoot. They pulled this trailer in for the scene, and they're out there. They have the director's tent with all these little monitors and stuff inside of it, and makeup.
Which NCIS? The original NCIS? Hawaii,
I think it is.
LA?
No, it's got to be the original one, because they've been doing it for so long.
Right.
And I talked to the makeup lady.
Mark Harmon.
Okay. Right. So
he was the guy in summer school.
Yeah. So I was talking to the makeup lady. She was his makeup lady, or she was over the whole makeup crew. And I was just talking to her, and she was telling me about they had come from like the movie Tombstone. That's where this production company had met, and they've been working together ever since. It was a really cool conversation. But then she brought Mark over to me, and I'm talking to him, and he's looking at our trailer, and he's got an Airstream he had restored. Right. And at this time, back then, was like, our trailer was one of the first ones that had an outdoor kitchen on it.
Oh, okay.
Like you raise the door, and it had like the pull out.
Yeah, slides out.
Man, I wish my Airstream had one of those. And he came over and looked at the outdoor kitchen and stuff. Man, he was such a cool. He was wearing this long black coat that he wears in the show. But it was so fun to watch them shoot this scene, because it's like a 30-second scene.
Right.
And what they did is they ran across the parking lot to this trailer. They stood outside of the trailer with their guns, like drawn, because they thought this criminal was inside the trailer.
Right.
And then they just went inside the trailer and found all these pictures of victims.
Right.
The guy wasn't there.
That's crazy.
But it was, I mean, Mark was like talking to this expert marksman,
right,
to find out how he should be holding his gun up out of the way and stuff. It was so cool.
Right on.
And he was such a nice guy.
I think
he signed some pictures for my mother-in-law. And, she was like a big Mark Harmon fan from like one of the hospital shows.
I think what's crazy going to these Comic Cons in particular is, you see the celebrities, they're right there.
Yeah.
And it's like you've only ever seen them in movies.
They
or
don't
TV
look
shows.
the same as they do on screen.
Oh no, they don't.
Sure.
But still, it's just like they've become realized. Like, 3 Doors Down was the last concert we went and seen. Unless you want to count, yeah, it was the last concert we seen. And someone opened up for him. Not Soul Asylum. They sang Candlestick, Candlebox.
Yeah.
They opened up for him. And my wife, she wasn't that familiar with them, but when 3 Doors Down came on, you know, they don't sound like they do on their records. His voice sounds deeper on all the records. And after every song, he would thank everybody. After every song, you know, you're great people and everything else. And I'm like, listen to his voice. I'm like, this dude's a redneck. And he did this whole spill. Yeah, he's from Mississippi. He from where did he say? Somewhere down south. I'm like, he a straight up country boy. And I'm like, this dude sings rock and roll, man. Like, you wouldn't, hearing all his music, you wouldn't know he talks the way he does. And he is a nerd. He's such a dork. I saw an interview with him because I was looking. I've listened to 3 Doors Down for years, but I never knew their name. And so I looked him up, found an old interview with him, and he's doing like a Zoom type interview with some music reporter lady or whatever else. He's showing some gadgets he kept over the years, and here's my little He-Man figure. I've had this dude for so long. I'm like, oh my God, are you freaking kidding me?
That's awesome. And they're real people, but when on the screen they look.
I know, but when you see him like on that stage, like we've had good seats for like Jeff Dunham. We went and saw Kevin Hart, all in Little Rock. You know, we've seen all these bands and but going to Comic-Con, you're like so much closer.
Sure.
Like the first one we went to was in Kansas City. Damn, I don't know. I can't remember any of their names. The guy that plays Castiel in Supernatural, he was there. The guy that played God was there. He was also in the movie Waiting. A bunch of the cast from Supernatural was there, and then part of the cast, like Lou Ferrigno was there, and
the Hulk.
Yeah, and I'm like, it's like they're right there. And it's so weird to see him so close, and you're not watching the TV. It's almost like before they weren't real people. You know, you know, you can't commute. You know, it was a trip. I was like, oh my God, and I guess that might be considered being starstruck. I guess, but it was like these people you've seen in like the Karate Kid guy, not Ralph Macchio. He canceled. He couldn't show up.
The blonde.
Yeah, the person they say is the actual Karate Kid. Him and his sensei were there, and I'm sure the guy that plays his sensei is probably a nice guy, but because he's the asshole villain in the movie, I don't like him. He's a dick, you know. But you don't know that. But that's just the character he plays. But I'm like, and everyone's got their Cobra Kai gear on and everything else to go meet dude, and I'm like, I wouldn't mind going up there and talking to him, but. Yeah, the guy that played Castiel, his line was long as shit. They had a couple of the screen-used vehicles. One of the black car, the Impala. They had the Impala there, and they had the Gremlin there. That what's her face? Yeah, so it was too cool. So ever since we did Kansas City, we keep on going back to the one in Little Rock to see who's going to be there, and we're going to see who we get to possibly meet and everything else. So, and I found a site that you can use to look up celebrities to see where you might get to meet them. And I got started making my list of people that I would like to meet, like Matthew Lillard, who is now the official voice of Shaggy from Scooby-Doo.
Oh, wow.
He took it over. He was the next person to officially take it over from Casey Kasem. And so, but he's been in a lot of stuff. He never
Casey Kasem did Shaggy?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
I did not know that.
Oh, yeah, at the trip. He was talking about how he came up with the idea for the voice, and I'm looking at him, I'm like, holy crap. And then you start listening to him, the top 40 countdown. You listen to his voice, like, that's Shaggy. That's him. And then the same guy that voices Fred is still voicing Fred. The same guy. I can't remember his name, but he's done Fred and all kinds of other characters over the years, and he's still
keep getting those checks.
Yeah, he's still doing voice acting because I don't know over the years, they always change the art styles of a lot of these cartoons and animation shows, but if they keep the original voices, you can tolerate it. You know what I mean? It's like what they did with Mickey Mouse, for example, they try to make it look like retro from like the 50s or whatever else, all black and white,
Right.
weird. You know, I understand what they're trying to do, but like I don't like that. It's too far.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean. I remember when growing up, they had Ronald McDonald, and I remember when they changed the actors for that. And this guy had makeup and a wig on, but then changed the actors, and you're like, oh, that's not Ronald.
Right. Thank God for all the makeup. You can easily like miss it, but yeah, I mean. Yeah, it's always been really neat to go down and check all these people out. And
I've been trying to think of like this woman's name. She's an actress. She was in Zorro and Chicago, but it's Michael Douglas's wife. And we were in
Sharon. No.
She's got like 3 names, kind of thing.
I know you're talking about. See, now I'm gonna look it up.
Well, we were in Canada in north of Niagara Falls,
Michael.
and we were like just in this little village, and my wife is inside a store, and I'm standing outside holding the leash on the dog, and I see this beautiful pantsuit with a huge hat come walking through the crowd, and it's her.
You're not talking about Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Yeah, it was her.
Oh,
and then
really?
I'm sitting there thinking that can't be.
She looks a lot different now.
That can't be her. And then right behind her is Michael Douglas, her husband. I'm like, holy shit! And then behind him was his son and his son's girlfriend. Michael Douglas was like, and I'm not even very tall, but he was like,
I've heard that Arnold Schwarzenegger isn't real tall.
No, he's not. Yeah, he's not.
And so he's one of those actors that I think would be really neat. I followed him on Twitter when it was still Twitter. He is, if you didn't know, is hilarious.
Oh yeah,
without being scripted, he is hilarious.
Yeah,
a lot of his videos he'd post on Twitter were like him just hanging out at his house on his ranch. Lulu and whatever his like miniature donkey and miniature pony are his effing dogs. They're just in the living room, just chilling. Got the donkey just chilling. I'm like,
he's a pretty cool dude.
Who cleans up after all that?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it'd be neat to meet him. Keanu Reeves would be neat. A lot of people's experience with him is that he's like really humble, really down to earth, and he gets away with riding public transportation because no one would think that. That guy looks a lot like Keanu Reeves.
Right.
It can't be him because this is public transportation. Well, it's him. So, but some of the actors that I think would be neat to meet, I've heard aren't the most pleasant people. They're like...
It'd be hard. I mean, to be a movie star and then like you can't even have a dinner without somebody coming over and saying, "Can I get a picture?" You know, like.
And so, someone asked me what I'm hoping to get out of all this. I think what would be neat, obviously, if YouTube reached out and said, "Hey, we want to give you all this money," I'm like,
"Yeah,
tell me where to sign."
Right.
But yeah, I want the channel to get monetized. I like to see at least one subscriber over on Spotify. I think there's 3 levels: 99 cents, $4.99, and $9.99, or something like that. Just one, just so like it's like a milestone kind of thing.
Keep plugging away, man.
But I think what would be neat, since the idea of this is not to be a local channel, it's meant to be for all over the place. I leave business cards everywhere,
right?
Particularly in the stalls, because everyone's always playing on their phone for some reason in the stalls, watching YouTube or Facebook. Sure, they can watch my YouTube videos in the stall. I don't give a damn. But I'll leave the card there with the QR code so they can scan it and check it out. But I think it would be neat to be like, let's say, I don't know, up Michigan or over in Oklahoma or somewhere in Texas. Hey, you look familiar.
Yeah,
that would be awesome.
Yeah,
that's like a bucket list. To be like, hey, you're that. Do you do a podcast? Like, yeah, that's me. That'd be awesome. So
you'll get there. You're plugging away, man. You got the right stuff going on.
And it helps when and I think the guests actually make the podcast. I think because we've had a couple of them like, this is almost over. That like the material is dry. There's not enough energy, and so far I've had like 2 or 3 that had really good energy and really good conversations with.
We got
with
way
guests.
off topic, but I mean,
always do.
That's good.
Have you ever watched Joe Rogan Experience?
I don't.
They always start off on topic, and then they're off in left field talking about aliens and extraterrestrials. And
right.
Like, what the hell?
Right. Now I do listen to a ton of podcasts, and you're doing. I mean. You got it going,
right? Well,
it'll get there.
I think
it
what's
just takes
cool
a while.
And the better the conversation, better the material that's within the podcast, depending on the level of energy,
right,
helps with making the shorts too.
Sure.
And so like this one, I think I'm gonna be able to get probably a good 5 or 6 shorts out of it, and I have one every day of the week. So
good.
But there's some of them I'm like, I've scrubbed through all the footage. I have a site that I use, but I have minute credits.
Right.
So if I go to have it process a video to try to find me some shorts and I don't find anything, well, there went my allowance of credits. So I'll like try to recollect, like, what all did we talk about? Oh, it should find that. So that'd be funny.
I mean, like, I mean, the first podcast I ever listened to was like Mark Marin, the What the Fuck podcast. That was like one of the first ones I ever started listening to, like a long time ago.
He's a different kind of comic. I've watched him on Netflix, and instead of doing the regular stand-up routine, he sits down, he'll just have a conversation with you, and it could end up being funny. But after watching him on Netflix, because I've always heard snippets, like on like Slacker Radio or whatever else, when I tune in, this dude's kind of funny. But then you watch him, like, no.
No, I honestly, I had never seen him or anything like that.
That one snippet they put on Slacker was the best part of his whole bit.
Right. But he's really good at just getting conversation going.
Right.
And he interviews people in his garage. And, he's just really good at getting, he digs back into their childhood and, you know, and he's very open about his own psychological shortcomings.
Right.
He carries that shit around.
You know who Daniel Tosh is, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Tosh .0.
Yeah, he has a podcast that I watch on YouTube. It's hilarious because he interviews the most off-the-wall people. The last one was his showrunner person that does all the audio and video clips. He says his name on every podcast.
How would you like to work for that dude? He just comes walking through the meeting naked. Like on the Tosh .0.
Right.
I mean, he is crazy.
Well, things you can get away with when you get paid. But he interviewed his guy's plumber, just some Joe, and it's always fun to watch.
Right. I like Tosh. I like his sense of humor. He's like, he doesn't hold anything
he tells
back.
you how it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know what political affiliation he has, but he beats everyone down equally. Yeah, he'll make it, and don't get him started on other.
He doesn't have any favorites. Yeah,
no. I mean, because of some of the things that he touches on, he just alienated an entire group.
You can hear his crowd go, after one of his jokes.
It's like he tells them all the same thing. Oh, shut up! You can't take a joke. There's the door, kind of thing.
Exactly.
So, but man, an hour and 40 minutes. I think it was the longest one yet. If you're trying to set records.
Well, shit. I hope you get something out of it.
Absolutely, it's been fun. So, I guess we're gonna call it quits, and then we'll definitely have to invite you back. So,
part 2.
Yeah, because we're making this a multi-segment deal. So it just happened to work out the way it did today. With us both getting in about the same time.
Right.
Since
Friday night.
You don't live right down the road, so it actually worked out.
Cool.
The way it should have. So
I hope it goes good.
But all right, it was good talking to you.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time.